I'm your adorable boy, Kris, and you're watching another adorable performance of American Civil War Battle of Shiloh, Lick 'em Tomorrow. As we remember from the second episode, my nose itches. It wasn't in the thing. Lick 'em Tomorrow was what Grant responded to Sherman after Sherman said something to the effect of, "We have the devil's own day." I apologize. It is Monday today, and I did those part 1 and 2 on Wednesday. Then I took Thursday, I watched something and I didn't do it. Friday was a long day, and I just decided I didn't want to do anything. So I'm going to be doing like 5 videos today. Oh, we're cracking this. It's orange. It's the best one. So get your beer, get your chips, get your drinks, get your tits, whatever, and let's start watching this video. This is, I already said it. So let's just get in with the video. Excuse me. 10 hours. PGT Beauregard. I have to say this. I'm not a big fan of the Southern Civil War generals, but General PGT Beauregard, there's just something about the name. I just like it. It's the PGT part, I think, that I just like.
Before dawn on April 7, 1862, the combined armies of Major Generals Ulysses S. Grant and Don Carlos Buell began to edge slowly forward from Pittsburgh Landing in a massive counterattack. Major General Lew Wallace's 3rd Division of the Army of the Tennessee, on Grant's extreme right flank and overlooking the broad valley of Tillman Branch, leads off the combat with an artillery duel with Captain William H. Ketchum's Alabama Battery, part of Ruggles' 1st Division and Bragg's 2nd Corps, posted in a portion of McClernand's camp in North Jones Field across the ravine. Positioned to Lew Wallace's left are the remnants of Sherman's 5th Division, then McClernand's 1st, along with the remainder of W.H.L. Wallace's 2nd Division, now under Colonel James Tuttle, and Stephen Hurlbut's 4th Division, stretching into line eastward toward the landing. Deployed forward of Grant's left are Buell's troops from the Army of the Ohio, the 4th Division of Brigadier General William Bull Nelson on the left, Brigadier General Thomas L. Crittenden's 5th Division in the center, and Brigadier General Alexander M. McCook's 2nd Division on the right. First moving Bull Nelson's troops across Dill Branch, Major General Buell finishes his initial battle deployments by advancing Crittenden and McCook inland on the Corinth Road, with his left flank anchored on the river. Buell's front extends westward for over a mile, where his right flank forms astride the Hamburg, Savannah, and Corinth Road Junction, 1 mile southwest of Pittsburgh Landing. In all, Grant has over 45,000 men in line. Nearly half of them are in fresh units. The Confederates are so badly intermingled that little corps, division, or even in some cases brigade organization and cohesion exist. It takes 2 hours for aides first to locate and then mobilize General Polk and his command, which had unfortunately retired the previous night to a point well south of the rest of the army, 4 miles inland from the river. Therefore, as Beauregard hastily sets about locating and then deploying his scattered troops, only General Breckinridge would manage to form all 3 brigades of his corps side by side in line of battle. Meanwhile, Generals Hardee, Bragg, and Polk each again lead groups of commingled commands on different sectors of the broad 3-mile front. By 10 a.m., General Beauregard has established a stable front, which runs across the field from southeast to northwest, about 1.5 miles inland from the river. Hardee, with his forces formed along the Hamburg-Purdy Road, directs operations on the right, where he meets Buell's advance on the River Road. On Hardee's left comes Breckinridge, where the southern front angles northward from the eastern Corinth and Hamburg-Purdy Road junction. Breckinridge's corps holds the Confederate center along the old Hornets' Nest front. Further north, Bragg assumes command of the far left flank, anchoring the southern front on the bluffs overlooking Owl Creek. Once General Polk returns to the field from the rear, he assumes command of the left center, between Breckinridge and Bragg. On his left front, Beauregard manages to deploy some 28,000 men.
Feeling lonely and looking for a significant someone, but dating sites don't work for you? Tired of scrolling, browsing, ignored messages, and dull dates?
I began to have doubts as to the outcome of this contest. I knew the enemy were reinforced stoutly.
The sheer power of the Federal thrust jolts the unsuspecting Southerners. A member of the Crescent, Louisiana Regiment of New Orleans later noted, "They appeared to me like ants in their nest, for the more we fired upon them, the more they swarmed about. One would have said that they sprouted from the ground like mushrooms." For the first time, Mississippi Private A.H. Mecklin recorded in his diary, "I began to have doubts as to the issues of this contest. I knew that the enemy were reinforced and stoutly," observed Private Thomas C. Robertson of the 4th Louisiana. "At daybreak, our pickets came rushing in under a murderous fire, and the first thing we knew, we were almost surrounded by 6 or 7 regiments of Yankees." Bull Nelson's division leads the advance on the Federal left, south along the Hamburg-Savannah Road. No serious opposition is encountered until his troops arrive at the Widow Wicker's Field after 8 a.m. Suddenly, Colonel William B. Hazen's 19th Brigade is fired on by General Chalmers' troops, who were moved up from their bivouac in Colonel Stewart's captured camps. Chalmers, joined by several other Southern detachments, blocks Nelson's further advance along the road. Heavy skirmishing continues for the next hour and a half as both sides await reinforcements. Crittenden's and McCook's divisions, which move southwest and west into the Hornets' Nest thicket astride the eastern Corinth and Corinth roads, follow Nelson's advance. By 10 a.m., troops from both divisions are heavily engaged. Lew Wass's division on the right had opened the day's fighting by sparring with Colonel Preston Pond's brigade in Jones Field. Pond is soon ordered to move his men to the opposite flank in the fight against Buell. This movement allows Wass to advance his division across Tillman Branch into the north end of Jones Field. In front of Wass, Sam Wood's and Randall Gibson's Confederate brigades are hurriedly thrown forward to contest further Union advance south through Jones Field.
I have a quick question, stupid question. How many people did it take to move one of these guns? Now, I've seen some of them in various sizes, and I know they had wheels on them and stuff like that. But was it one person could just pick it up and start running, or 2 people? How many people did it take? Because if you're, I'm not breaking ground here, but if you're one of these people coming through here, you just start trying to, and I understand the weapons don't work as well, but man, you pick off one, or if it was 3 or 4 people, you pick off 1 or 2 of them, that could slow them down tremendously, because maybe that 1 or 2 people are trying to kind of just cover them. Now these other ones, they have to decide, are we going to get shot trying to move this field piece, or are we just going to run? I'm not exactly, this isn't new thinking, I'm sure, but I was just curious how many people it took. And I see they have cavalry here, so more than likely that was probably be the back, the guys staying with him, the protection, the backup, whatever you want to call it.
As on the Federal left, the Union advance here stalls, Wallace is forced to wait out Grant's promised support from Sherman and McClernand on his left, as those troops had not yet advanced over Tillman Branch. About 9 to 9:30, General Ruggles branchly orders both Wood and Gibson to counterattack Wallace's division. The rebels are driven back by the fire of Morgan L. Smith's and John M. Thayer's brigades, along with 5 guns of Thurber's Battery I, 1st Missouri Light Artillery, which supports Wallace's hold on Jones Field. Buell, meanwhile, begins to make headway on the left. After 10 a.m., his divisions advance to the Sarabelle Peach Orchard, the site of such heavy fighting the previous day. Here, they encounter a reinforced Confederate line under Hardee along the Hamburg-Purdy Road. Colonel Sanders L. Bruce's 22nd Brigade of Nelson's division attacks south across the Sarabelle Field, but is driven back by musketry and a heavy right flank enfilade crossfire from Hodgson's 5th Company, Washington, Louisiana Artillery, and McClung's Tennessee Battery, both positioned to the west and Daniel Davis's Wheat Field. General Hardee orders a counterattack, which is spearheaded by Bowen's brigade and Breckinridge's corps, now commanded by Colonel John S. Martin. However, they in turn are swept back to the Hamburg-Purdy Road by the advance of Colonel Hazen's brigade. Hazen's Indiana and Ohio troops, joined by Colonel William Sooy Smith's 14th Brigade of Crittenden's division on the right, surges southwest into Davis's Wheat Field, where they overrun part of Captain Hodgson's Washington artillery. The Crescent Louisiana Regiment, along with the 19th Louisiana, rushes forward to assist the hard-pressed cannoneers. In a frantic melee of hand-to-hand fighting, the Louisianans retake the battery. With heavy Confederate pressure on both flanks, Nelson's entire division is forced to retire to Wicker Field and regroup. Breckinridge's men have held firm on Hardee's left. Therefore, Crittenden, like Nelson, is forced to retire Smith's brigade back into the Hornet's Nest thicket, where he busies himself reforming his lines within the thicket. As midday approaches, the fighting along the Confederate right seesaws back and forth.
It almost looks like, and it's not, but it almost kind of looks like a little bit of a, I mean, if this were over here, almost like that Union fishhook at Gettysburg. And just to me.
Before noon, General Crittenden again attacks Breckinridge's front, as his left presses down the eastern Corinth Road. Crittenden's right, along with McCook's division to the right, advances west across Duncan Field. This drive captures southern cannon and breaks the back of Breckinridge's resistance at Duncan Field. Having lost a large number of men, Breckinridge's corps retires from the fighting toward the southwest. From noon until 2 p.m., the Northerners gain the upper hand astride the eastern Corinth Road, where Crittenden, reinforced by detachments from Grant's army, advances south to the junction with the Hamburg-Purdy Road. Meanwhile, General McCook presses west along the Corinth Road toward Water Oaks Pond and Wolf Field. On Buell's left, Nelson has also been reinforced with small detachments from Grant's army. Once again, Nelson's division enters Sarabelle's Field and attacks south toward the junction of the Hamburg-Savannah and Hamburg-Purdy roads. By 2 p.m., Nelson's men have pushed Hardee's front southward into Prentice's camp and seized the Hamburg-Purdy Road. This time, Nelson's men are here to stay.
And I said the reason why I'm doing Shiloh is I went there and I was only there 4 hours, and that's it's basically just enough to say, hey, I was there, but it's not enough to really do anything. And I really wish that I would have given myself like a full day or two, just like at Gettysburg and at Chickamauga. I really wish I would have given myself more time to drive around the battlefield and then to stop and get out and walk around the peach orchard and walk around all these things. But I just didn't give myself enough time, and that's my biggest regret. It's not like I can never go back, But I had planned to go there, and now I'm thinking about going there again and giving myself a couple days and then going down to Corinth and checking out that battlefield and giving myself a couple days there. And I think it would be better. But yeah, that's why I'm doing Shiloh, because I didn't really appreciate it while I was there. And yeah, it was an ugly one. I want to do Antietam, but that's a story for a different day. That's a subject. There you go. Human endurance could stand no such odds, and our force were compelled to fall back to the church. See, and I didn't get to see the church either. I wish I did.
This might be the weirdest question that someone's ever asked you, but how often do you poop? And have you ever thought about what exactly your poop is trying to tell you? It might sound gross.
It's telling me it wants to leave my body.
Since mid-morning, fierce fighting has raged on the Union right, where Confederate forces under Bragg and Polk fight unsuccessfully to halt the advance of Sherman, McClernand, and Hurlbut across Tillman Branch. By 11 a.m., the Southern left was retiring south from Jones Field under the mounting pressure from Grant's army. From his headquarters at Shiloh Church, Beauregard works frantically to form a new line north of Water Oaks Pond. Beginning at noon, some of the heaviest fighting of the day occurs in this sector. With Hardee starting to give way on the right, most of the Southern resistance is located west of the Eastern Corinth Road, in a line extending west along the Hamburg-Purdy Road to Owl Creek. Just after noon, Brigadier General Lovell Rousseau's brigade, joined by the brigades of Colonel Edward Kirk and William Gibson, all from McCook's division, attack westward through Wolf Field, astride the Corinth Road. Meanwhile, further west, Lew Wallace and Sherman continue to apply pressure on the southern left flank. As the Federals sweep forward through the center of McClernand's recaptured camps, Beauregard commits his remaining reserve, Preston Pond's brigade. Pond arrives at Shiloh Church with only 2 regiments, but several other disorganized detachments are pieced together to form a conglomerate attack force. Colonel Robert Russell stated that the assault was led by General Beauregard, who bore the colors in front of the line under the fire of the enemy. Several times during the day, Beauregard exposes himself to great harm by leading units into battle, scolded by his aides, who argue that
I don't care what side you're on. When you're in front of your men like that, you got balls, and you deserve respect. Even if you're on the other side and I don't agree with you, tip of the cap to you, sir, because I don't know if I could do that. I'm sure in the situation you're probably not thinking about it so much, but nope.
he's unnecessarily endangering himself. The Army commander bluntly fires back. The order must now be follow, not go. Unfortunately, Colonel Jacob Thompson of General Beauregard's staff noted, "The fire and animation had left our troops. Many Southern soldiers are disconsolate and refuse to respond to further pleadings by their officers." Beauregard observes the change in morale, and as the bitter contest wears on, he increasingly attempts to rally his soldiers in person. A last-ditch Confederate counterattack proves momentarily successful. Southerners surge back across Water Oaks Pond and enter the southern portion of McClernand's camp, forcing McCook's men to give ground. Riding up to Colonel James Veitch's brigade of General Hurlbut's division, which stands in support of McCook, General Grant personally orders Veitch forward to stabilize the faltering Union front. Moving steadily forward, Veitch's men advance across Review Field past McCook's left and strike the Confederate right flank. Caught within the Federal vise, Colonel Russell remembered that despite the courage displayed by Beauregard, human endurance could stand no longer against such odds, and our forces were compelled to fall back to the church. It was now evident to a troubled Beauregard that the Federals had received heavy reinforcements, and his exhausted Confederates would be unable to prevail. Colonel Thomas Jordan inquires of the general, "Would it not be judicious to get away with what we have?" The Louisiana general replies, I intend to withdraw in a few moments. About 3 p.m. on the ridge across a valley of Shiloh Branch, south of Shiloh Church, a Confederate rearguard of some 5,000 men from Breckinridge's corps, mixed detachments, and about a dozen guns is formed. This line holds the Federals at bay on the Corinth Road until 5 p.m., while the Southerners conduct an orderly withdrawal. At 5 p.m. on April 7, 1862, the bloody two-day Battle of Shiloh, or Battle of Pittsburgh Landing, finally comes to its end with the retreat of the final Confederate regiments from the battlefield. Grant and Buell have successfully recaptured all the ground lost the previous day, thus concluding the bloody engagement in a decisive victory for the Union.
I got a quick question. So the initial fighting was like these three guys. Nelson, the Crittenden, and then that guy. They did most of the first early part of the day's fighting on day 3, or part 3. Grant, Sherman, all these other guys were kind of held up here. Why not overwhelm them with sheer force immediately? Or were they trying to kill as many as possible and then slowly bring those guys down to maybe pick off the rest, figuring that the Confederates are going to form new lines and we're going to hit them again now with the second unit, with our second wave, which is full of energy. They're not worn down. These guys are ready to go. Would that be the thing? Or I'm just curious, because I don't think there's a right or wrong answer, but I'm not a general, so I don't know what the thinking is behind it, unless they thought that these guys were just going to be completely obliterated and they were all there to kind of back them up and pull up if need be. But I'm just curious. I'm sure someone like Panda, if you're watching, you probably know more military strategy than I do, because I apparently don't know much at all. So I'm just curious. I'm just curious as to how they do it. If anyone knows, that'd be great. If not, then I should probably seek an answer from, somebody who would know better.
The Battle of Shiloh is a major turning point in this early phase of the American Civil War. The body count proves to both North and South just what the cost of total war will be, and also demonstrates the changes in tactics and strategy with the advent of industrial warfare. Another smaller skirmish erupts the following day, April 8th, between elements of Major General Sherman's 5th Division conducting a reconnaissance in force against Colonel Nathan Bedford Forrest's cavalry detachment at Fallen Timbers.
Nathan Bedford Forrest, I know he has the Ugliest Statue Award. Was it Nathan Bedford Forrest, or was it John Bell Hood that later but became the first Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan? I always get them wrong. I always think Nathan Bedford Forrest, because I think he was from Tennessee, but then I always think Hood. And the only reason I think Hood is because the Klan hoods. This is completely unrelated.
Grant had sent Sherman south down the Corinth Road to confirm whether the Army of Mississippi was in fact retreating or rallying for another day of fighting. 6 miles south of Pittsburgh Landing, Sherman's men are defeated in a brief, sharp skirmish with Forrest's charging cavalrymen. However, this clash is but a rearguard action by Forrest protecting the retreat of the Army of Mississippi back towards Corinth.
I love that painting. Not that one so much.
Stop being so nice to women. Nice will never equal
What is it with me and
on
paintings
or
all of a
attracted
sudden?
to you. I know you want women to be.
I am not a painting person, but my goodness. I can't spare this man who fights. Was this after Shiloh? I didn't realize that. It was. Well, duh, Grant after Shiloh.
Butcher's Bill at Shiloh sends shockwaves through the divided nation. The casualties are staggering. The Union has lost 13,047 men, including 1,754 killed, 8,408 wounded, and 2,885 captured or missing.
So over 100,000 people engage in this battle. Over 100,000 people, and you only lost 3,400, 34 plus, 3,400 plus. That's really not bad. I mean, the wounded sucks, obviously. Captured, that always sucks. But that's really, what is that, 3.5%? That's really not. Now, I mean, the wounded and the captured, that's where you take the hits. That's really not bad. I'm not trying to diminish the dead. I'm just saying, when you look at the massive field numbers, that's a rather low number.
The Confederates have lost 10,699 men, including 1,728 killed, 8,012 wounded, and 959 captured or missing. It is the bloodiest battle of both the Civil War and American history up to this point. In fact, more casualties have been sustained at Shiloh than the total losses of the Revolutionary War, War of 1812, and Mexican-American War combined.
Holy
In the
shit.
North, newspapers and the press are quick to focus the blame of the battle on Major General Ulysses S. Grant,
That's
the man
why.
who, just 2 months prior, had been praised as a hero for his victories at Forts Henry and Donelson. Many credit General Buell with taking control of the broken Union forces and leading them to victory on April 7th. Calls for General Grant's removal from command overwhelmed the White House. In response, President Lincoln replies with one of his famous quotes regarding Grant: "I can't spare this man, he fights." In the South, the Battle of Shiloh proves to be a devastating loss and a complete disaster for Confederate fortunes in the Western Theater. The Army of Mississippi retreats back to Corinth, Mississippi, where in the coming weeks it will be besieged by the combined armies of Grant, Buell, and Pope, under overall command of General Halleck. General Albert Sidney Johnston's death at Shiloh will prove in hindsight to be another great loss to the Confederate war effort in the West, believed at the time to be the South's greatest general. His loss will deprive the Confederates of a competent and capable commanding general to lead the Western Theater's armies. Indeed, Johnston may have well been the closest thing to a Robert E. Lee in the West, and his loss will pave the way for further Confederate disasters in the Western Theater in both campaigns and leadership. The Battle of Shiloh is a watermark moment in the early Civil War. Although the battles of Manassas awakened the American people to the realities of a long war, the Battle of Shiloh truly opens their eyes to the horrors of modern industrial war. Many
I'm going to go back to that last picture for just a second. I apologize.
of a long war, the Battle of
Look at this guy right here. He just gave up on firing, and he's using his gun as a weapon. And like, it seems crazy, but that happened. Not exactly like that, but you understand. When you do that, and you're attacking a line of bayonets fixed, they still have, a round to fire. You're doing that knowing this is it. Jesus. I just couldn't fathom what would go through your mind? And I understand it's a painting, but what would go through your mind to think that you're going to win against all of this with just your weapon? You might hit one person, but you're going to get bayoneted. You're going to get shot. You're going to be left there like this guy right here. That guy. Or this guy. Just what would go through your mind at that moment? Because you've given up the thought of living. And you just surrendered to, this is how I'm going to die. You know, and I'm going to go out hitting or injuring, killing as many people as possible. Wow. It's also a beautiful painting. Me and paintings. The hell?
Shiloh truly opens their eyes to the horrors of modern industrial
And I just realized this guy right here is like, let him get close. I'm just going to fart.
war. Many believed before the Battle of Shiloh that the beginning of the end was at hand. However, the Battle of Shiloh would prove to be just the end of the beginning of a long and terrible war.
Anyone who's interested, I grabbed my phone because I just finished on Chirp, my Audible book, Crucible of Command, and it's about the life of Ulysses S. Grant and the life of Robert E. Lee, and kind of just their upbringing, and then what they went through in each military division. It was a great book. But I was going to say to anyone who's interested or in the area, let's see if I can find, if anyone is near and you get a chance to go to the Abraham Lincoln Library and Museum in Springfield, Illinois, it was built by Disney. And they have, it is just an awesome thing. But you're greeted by wax figures. But anyways, there's a thing in there. Let me see if I can find yeah, it's called the War Gallery, and I'm sorry. So it's called the War Gallery, and it is this screen of the Civil War, the 4 years of the Civil War, played out like over 4 minutes, and it just kind of shows like it's the continent. And there's all these lights for all these actions, and then the color changes to show you where the Confederates gain and then where they lose ground here, and and you just see like all these battles, and then you just start to see the Mississippi breaking up. It's just a really cool thing, but it's the whole thing played out in like a 4-minute thing, and they just have the death tally just going up. It's like the U.S. national debt clock, you know. It just, and you're just looking at it like, that's ridiculous. Yeah, it's a pretty crazy thing. It's not completely related to this, I understand, but I'm gonna go ahead and end this here. Yeah, this is good. I want to go back to Shiloh, give it a little more time, because I think I blew it. But anyways, that doesn't really matter. Let's just go ahead and end this, and thanks for watching. Have a good day, have a good night.